Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Monday, June 6th, 2022. New week, fresh start, new beginning. And I hope everyone had a great weekend and survived. For the ECSI VIPs, we hit a parlay yesterday. What we did yesterday, our Sunday action parlay. And what we did is gave you two options. One would have cashed for about 8.5 units, and the other was 483. And took a little luck in all three, but we got there. We start out, I'm trying to backtrack my brain here. Astros. I talked to Riley about the Astros yesterday, and what was shocking to me is they opened up minus 220. But the run line was minus 140. So we dive into their run line. I thought that was a Vegas telling us Astros are going to win by 2 or more. Well, they were up 3-0, then 3-2. Then they're up 5-3, then 5-4. And then they scored 2 in the ninth to make it 7-4, thank the Lord. And then 2 outs, no guys on. And the Astro relief pitcher gets tossed for supposedly throwing at someone, which the ball just tailed in, which was hilarious. Royals get the bases loaded, and who's up but Salvador Perez, already with a homer, a double. He's been my thorn for a long time. They get him out, so we get the first one in. Okay. We got Mariners. That was our little dog of the day. Down 2-0, make it 2-1. Down 3-1, make it 3-2. And then they give up 2 in the 8th. So we're down 5-2 in the 9th. Thanks for playing. Miraculously tied it. Holy moly. We're alive. They get 1 in the 10th. They come in. So we're 2-0. Now you had 2 options here with the Lightning. I gave up the Lightning puck line plus 160, down 2-0, come back 2-2, score with less than a minute. So you still had a shot with the empty net, but that does not come in as the Lightning win 3-2. But if you played the other parlay, which was the Lightning money line, you cashed for plus 483. So that was great. A good way to end the week. I just want to, before I bring Riley in, I have a good friend, a season ticket holder of the Celtics, and always complaining about the refs. I mean, it's miraculous, though. You beat KD, you beat Kyrie, you beat Giannis, you beat Butler, yet you're complaining about the refs. Didn't complain after the first game, of course not. But we said this. If the refs were not going to call it tight, it favored the Celtics. They were a more physical team. They were going to allow to play their game. If they called it tight, Brown got 2 in the first. Jalen got 2 in the first. Someone else got 2 in the first. Then it was going to be a tougher game. Well, we've known for the 3 championships that Golden State's quarter is the third quarter. They bamboozled you game 1, but you miraculously came back. So this guy is chirping in my ear the whole time after Draymond got a technical that Draymond and Jalen should have both got a technical. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to call it. There's no way. If Draymond didn't have a technical, maybe they each give him a technical, but they're not going to call it double technical there. And the former NBA ref did come on and talk the same thing that I'm saying right here. Yes. We knew Draymond had one. It wasn't that flagrant where they both needed a technical and Draymond was going to get tossed. So Golden State does what they do. They crush her in the third period, and I think the soul came out when Poole hits the three-quarter court, and it was just an onslaught. And then so all Celtic Nation say, well, maybe we can come back like we did. Well, I think Golden State comes out 8-0. Thanks for playing up 29. But I wake up this morning, early that is, of course, and people in our lanes are talking about the refs. If you think the refs and that non-call technical on Draymond had anything to do with the ass whooping that you took in the second half, shame on you. It was the correct call. I would rather have Draymond playing with one technical than Jalen with one. I don't need Jalen getting tossed. I think we settled. Hey, we got the first one. We'll come back to Boston and we'll hold serve. You're better on the road than at home, guys. I wouldn't be shocked if Golden State came in and slapped you around in game 3. And now you're down 2-1. Now you'll feel that sense of urgency. Oh, shoot, we've lost 2 in a row. Now we got to win this one. We can't go back to Golden State down 3-1. So you got to do something. You got to clean up your act in the third quarter, guys. But enough from me. Let's bring in our co-host from the Windy City himself, the one, the only, Mr. Riley Magnuson. Good morning, Riley.
Morning, my friend. Happy Monday. Happy new week. Congrats on the action parlay for your Sunday. I got the light yesterday. I went with my White Sox, and then I went with the Warriors and the under last night. So, I don't know where to piggyback off of what you said. As far as the non-double technical call, if that was a random night in January, maybe they call that a double technical, maybe. But it's the NBA Finals, and this series has already been pretty damn captivating. I'm not saying I want to scuffle every 10 seconds, but I'm more than happy to get a little bit of that chippiness and sense of even just a shred of old school type, grinder basketball, bully ball basketball. So I'm all for it, man. I was more than pleased that they didn't call that double technical. Like you said, if that's what if you're complaining about, the Warriors only scored 107. It's not like they scored 130 and lapped you 2 times. You scored 88 points. You're not going to win an NBA Finals game typically. So, I'm interested to see what happens going forward. I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I think we're still going to have a hell of a series. Like you said, wouldn't shock me if the Warriors took that one. But, it was a hell of a first half. And then obviously, like you said, the Warriors in that third quarter, Jordan Poole at the end of it to kind of put the nail in the coffin was obviously the difference maker the last few minutes of that quarter. But, happy Monday. Happy to see you, my friend. I'm ready to start wherever you are. Other than that, it's concerned.
Shout out to Marty Lowe from Bama. If you go, Marty, and follow at Chris Andrews Sports, he is the sports risk director at the South Point. There's a picture of our friend Dave Sharapan yesterday in the South Point Sportsbook holding up the opening lines. And the talk is that Bama is only favored by 12 on his sheet against Texas open week. I heard rumblings that was going to tiptoe to 17. So if you have a book that you can shop early, you better get it at 12 because that would be 2 touchdowns at least by kickoff there. But you're spot on, Riley. I just find it so comical. If you go back to the LeBron Kyrie win against Golden State, it was the stupidity of Draymond that got him the second technical, and he missed game 5, which was the pivotal game, which got the Cavaliers back in that series. As the Celtics looking outside and in, I thought they had a good first quarter. I thought they played well. A little, great second quarter for both teams. It was a fun first half. Yeah. Golden State just did what they did in the third quarter in the first game. And again, the sense of urgency, the turnovers by the Celtics is just awful. At one point, I sent this guy, it was 16-8, and that's 16 possessions that you didn't even get a shot off. And if you're going to play like that against a team where Clay looked like he finally found something, let Steph get off. And the funny thing here is Jalen comes out hot early, and then Tatum had 20 plus at the half, yet he ends up with 28. Jalen only ends up with 17. Your 26 points from Al in the first game, you knew you weren't going to duplicate in the second game. And it looked like the Time Lord was limping around, Marcus limping around. Yeah. You got a couple days to come back to Boston and reset.
Yeah, and obviously Tatum ended up having a nice game, 8 for 19 from the floor, 28 points. But there was a certain point, and they were kind of complaining about it on the broadcast, where the Celtics were really just settling for him kind of going iso ball and getting a couple of these, step back fadeaway in someone's face. And obviously, if you're one of the 10 best players in the world, that's fine. But relying on that too many times, especially in a second half like that against a team that's absolutely rolling on offense, just isn't going to do it. So I'm interested to see how they work out some of those kinks on offense. There were a couple times where Draymond, I know there's one clip where he kind of looks like an offensive lineman setting a couple of moving screens for Steph. That maybe I'm interested to see if they tighten that up a little bit as far as Draymond offensively with some of his offensive screens and whatnot. But I'm really excited for the series to swing back to Boston. I was seeing -3.5 here for Game 3, so pretty even splits as far as whoever's home team getting favored 3.5, 4.5 points. So. Going to be a hell of a game. I think that's Wednesday, so you won't see me until later in the week. But and I think we'll be ready for Game 4 by the time you see me next.
Yeah, in my head I was thinking 2.5, maybe 3. So 3.5 is a statement. What I could tell all the listeners right now, very simply, is expect a split. I mean, if you could somehow sit back and not bet Game 3, God bless you, because whoever loses Game 3 most likely is going to win Game 4. I talked about to the ECSI VIPs after the loss with Golden State, grab them plus the 155. Now you can go back if you want, grab the Celtics. You get yourself some guaranteed coin if you want. If you want to play cute, maybe Golden State wins Game 3, and then you can come back and get the Celtics. This is going 6 or 7. There's no doubt in my mind. We'll see what happens, how they call it. With the refs, I do know Game 3 and 4 against Miami, the Celtics were plus 40 from the free throw line in Game 3 and 4, and they only got a split there. So we'll be interested there. Before we jump to today's slate, it's kind of a short slate too. In the MLB, again, the Lightning score. They come from 2 down, heart of a champion, a 2-time champion. They rally to tie it and score late there. Today, Colorado comes in for the kill up 3-0. Kind of surprised that the number's only -120, 125. Evander Kane is also out for a 1-game suspension for the Oilers. That smells to me. I know you're not the hockey guy, but going for the kill, I thought that the Avs might be favored by a little more than 120, 125.
Yeah, and again, I'm not the hockey guy, so if I'm talking to my ass, stop me. But I think it was, I don't remember when it was we were talking about it, but some of the hesitation seems to be that this Colorado team is just missing that one last gear to really step on your throat type of stuff. And that's what I would think it is here, or maybe it's just giving some respect to an Oilers team that's made it this far and obviously still has arguably the best talent in the world, even without Evander Kane. Maybe that mixes something up. They're obviously down 3-0 in the series, so dropping him for a game, maybe that mixes things up and kind of shakes up this momentum for the Oilers. But it is a little funky. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little funky. I'm not sure if I'll get involved in this one or not. Any thoughts on any total in this one? This over under, I'm seeing at 6.5, 7. It looks like.
Yeah, and for after Game 1 and all the heroics, for the shootout there, the next Game 2 and actually Game 2, Game 3 have all gone under. I think this is Custard's last stand. I honestly think that Oilers are going to go out playing their style. They're not going to try to settle for a 2-1, 3-2 type. So I think if you are looking for some over action and got a 6.5, I think you can want to jump in now. They're going to go out guns a blazing. This again could be one of those 6-4, 6-5, 7-4, 7-5 games.
Okay, yeah, and I'm seeing plus money on an over 7 if that's where you're going. But maybe I'll do a little entertainment, grab some popcorn, and hope for some goals in this one tonight for me.
Before we jump to baseball, I got to talk. We always talk Sunday and PGA. Hats off to Billy Ho. Neither one of my spreadsheets and algorithms had Billy Ho having a big week. We talked about the eyes taking Billy out. The first tier, the second tier. We talked about Homer. I saw your tweet how the front nine was his bitch, and I started roaring. And I think as soon as I gave you the thumbs up, I think he bogeyed or double bogeyed.
We'll blame that on that one on me as far as putting the tweet out publicly. At that point, that's about when it comes crashing down. Because then I flipped on because I think it was about the time. I could be wrong. Obviously, the broadcast times are always weird, but I flip it on, and then now he's dropping two shots or 3 shots out of 5 holes or something like that. But I don't know. 9 under was second place, so we were just off a little bit. As if Billy would have dropped down, 10 would have been the winning number. So credit to him. I think he goes even par yesterday. He's kind of an outlier, obviously. You mentioned wasn't in your algorithm. Sometimes he just kind of defies what people expect out of him and has a really nice hot weekend. And I'm interested to see we've got some big golf tournaments coming up. So. interested to see if he lobbies that into anything great. But as Scotty Scheffler, who's kind of taking a couple weekends off completely, obviously cooled down a little bit. Nobody's really scorching hot on tour right now, so these tournaments coming up the next few weeks are going to be wide open, and I'm really excited. I think we got Canadian Open this weekend before the U.S. Open, so these tournaments should be really exciting to watch coming up.
Can't wait. I don't know if we'll be tiptoeing into the tulips for the RBC. I don't like to usually play a week before or a week after a major. But, we did have the first round leader with Cam Young this week. So we obviously will keep an eye on that. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up the today's baseball slate via wagertalk.com/free odds if you want to follow along. And again, short slate, 6 games, 6 games in all. Just initially with the eye test before I turn it over to you, what really grabs me is Syndergaard. Opened up overnight minus 135, corrected line at 113. A team that has lost 11 in a row. We had Syndergaard in his last start at New York, and it was the bad Syndergaard. We had him the start before first 5 was the good Syndergaard. Now, I said something on Twitter yesterday, and initially I thought I was getting lambasted, but I wasn't. Phillies fired Joe Girardi, win the first 2 games against the Angels, and then miraculously a walk-off yesterday to win it again. So now here come the Angels back home, losers of 11 in a row. And I said, hey, I've always believed once you fire your manager, you get that attention back to your clubhouse saying, shit, because of our poor play, Joe is now gone. Now, the Rangers were not put together correctly. They got a ton of offense. The Angels, they got a ton of offense. They brought Thor over to add to Shohei, but the rest of their front end is and their back end has sucked for a long, long time. And I said, hey, maybe they take a bite out of the Phillies. We've lost 11 in a row. Trout's 0 for 30. Something's going on here. If you don't believe in Joe, it's time to go. Thoughts there? It might be overreacting.
I wish I could get I don't know any. I don't have any like close ties to anyone in the Angels circles. I wish I could get like a feel of what their thoughts are, but I don't think you're too far off. I mean, yesterday was just, it was a walk-off win for the Phillies, but an all-time choke job. I think they gave up a grand slam in the 8th to tie it, and then they take the lead, and then they give up a 3-run walk-off home run. It's just brutal stuff. But I think, maybe this series with Boston, we talked about it yesterday. This is could be a jumping-off point for the Red Sox if they can get going here, at least with the wild card race, right? So, I don't know. It's interesting because now, you mentioned the offense is obviously they're built for high-scoring offense, but their offense isn't hitting right now either. So some way or another, they've got to shake things up. Maybe this Red Sox series is what does it. But, I don't think you're too far off. Obviously, some of these managers, I've talked about it with my own White Sox manager. Some of these managers that have, a ton of success in the past are kind of getting caught up with the times as far as, not a lot of success in modern-day 2022 baseball. So I don't think you're too far off. It would not shock me if it happened within the next couple of weeks if things continue for the Angels.
Well, I'll piggyback off of that. The Sox, since April 22nd, finally got back to 500. They're 27-27. The Angels now 1 game below at 27-28. So we have a half-game lead on that third wild card spot. I'm just scrolling through Don Best here for the series odds, and the Angels are minus 135. And the Red Sox plus 115 there. So again, and it's not going to happen, I'm assuming, the Sox continue to roll and the Angels continue to slide, the Red Sox could walk out of here, with a 3.5, 4-game lead. And then, then it would be Angels, losers of 13, 14 in a row. And, the earth is ending. I don't know if I'm going to get back on that horse. Vegas is telling me that you're going to get the good Syndergaard. We've been waiting for the Walker regression. He's been pitched now, I think, 3 starts since coming back off the IL. Short board, my friend. I'm going to let you take it away to see what you see early here.
Yeah, I'll just finish it up with that game and then move on to these other ones. What was I going to mention? As far as the Red Sox, I mean, we talked about what they've done in the past against Oakland. Obviously, get the sweep in Oakland, a spot that's been a really tough spot for them historically over the last few years, as is the West Coast for a lot of Midwest and East Coast teams. And if they've got this series now with the team that's right up and along with them in the standings, and then I think they've got the Seattle Mariners right after this. If they can have a winning record on a West Coast road trip for a team that's right around 500 trying to get back into things, that can be such a nice momentum boost. No matter how you swing it, it doesn't matter who you're playing, what poor or well they're playing. If you can go on the West Coast as an East Coast team and have a positive record through 9-10 games in a row on the West Coast, that's always impressive. So. We'll see obviously with today and what happens, but this could be a nice spot for the Red Sox this week to get things turned around. As far as that one though, I'm staying away from it. I think you're right. That line screams that they think Syndergaard's going to have a nice game. So, but there's still a stink that I can't ignore about this Angels team right now. So I'm going to stay away from it. Couple games. I mean, we got 6 games. The 2 that are in Ohio today have a chance of rain right around game times. Arizona at Cincy and then Texas at Cleveland. They've both got some rain forecasts I was looking at right around game time. If they were to be daytime games, I think they would get them in. I have no idea if they're going to get them in or not, but at least this could be a spot where you're getting some stopping and starting. And aside from that, I didn't have strong thoughts on those anyways. Arizona and Cincinnati, Bumgarner, Hunter Green. Over-unders of 9.5 and 9 in both of those games. Anything that you're seeing out of those two? I know you don't like any starting and stopping action. Is that going to be enough to keep you away right there?
And speaking of starting and stopping, we got kicked in the Saturday with the Royals starting and stopping.
Yeah.
An hour and change delay. And Houston just nowhere to be found. And I can't stand that. So great job there. Cincinnati. I listen. I'm going to keep telling this to people. I check with Fangraphs. I know Scotty uses Fangraphs a lot. I usually pull back about 10 days offensively, how these teams are doing, maybe 2 weeks. But I can't bring this up. Listen, guys. You wanted to step on the Cincinnati Reds' throat. They started 3-22. Mm-hmm. So Riley, you're the math guy, okay? They started 3-22. They are now 18-35.
That's 15-13 since 3-22.
Okay. And I think at one point they were 14-9.
Something like that.
So the little regression over the weekend. The point is Hunter Green showed flashes. Then he was bad. And now he's come back to showing some flashes. Bumgarner just a shell of himself. I look at these two teams, these two pitchers. The initial thought, and we all know, as you say, you're not the hockey guy. I am not the total guy. Okay. Yeah. We hit an over. We were 2-1 in overs last week. And of course we had the over in Coors on Saturday. We tried to buck the Freeland trend. And then yesterday they go guns a-blazing and over on that one as well. First thought, that's an overplay.
On this one, I think so too. And these back ends of these bullpens, or at least on hold, these bullpens the last couple of weeks have not been very good either. So I think one way or another, if you don't have any starting and stopping action, you're probably going to get to these bullpens, and I think some runs on these bullpens. But obviously, if you do have some starting and stopping, and these bullpens are in the first few innings and then continuing through the full game, I agree with you on that one. I kind of go. Gun to my head, I don't love it by any means. As far as the Texas and Cleveland one, I kind of lean under 9 on that one. Pretty strong lean. Probably not going to play it, but those bullpens actually have been pretty decent the last couple of weeks. So whether or not we see them early or not with some rain, I'm kind of leaning under 9 in Texas and Cleveland, but not any strong thoughts. Anything else on that one, or are you with me on that?
I agree with that. The other, though, the one thing that kind of scares me is it did go from 8.5 to 9 juice now over 25 cents. Something's going on there. I'm looking at the splits. 74% of the bets on the over, 95% of the money. Quantrill, his last game out, opened a minus 140 favorite, which is unheard of, and they went box to wire. Opened up minus 120, now minus 107, which is more his starts. Never mind if he's a short favorite or a dog, where he came from San Diego and some now playing for the Guardians. His record as a short favorite or a dog is like 2 in Brazilian. And so Texas getting some love here. I would small lean, Texas over Quantrill, but kind of interesting to see this total. I mean, it's about to go to 9.5.
Yeah, I let me walk all of that back. If this is if what I'm looking at is correct, it looks like there could be like 15, 60 mile an hour wind blowing out of the stadium. So let me walk that one right back. I will not be playing the under on this one. I admit I overlooked that one pretty hard, but yeah, Texas would be where I was leaning. I told you he's been decent lately, but John Gray has kind of been one of my kryptonites. So probably with the rain and everything else, I'll probably stay out of this one. But maybe we get some weird weather and the balls are just whipping out of the stadium. Who knows? But yeah, I'll move out of this one. I think everything else had clear skies, if I'm not mistaken. So Toronto and Kansas City is the other one. Next one up. An interesting line here. We talked yesterday about Toronto potentially being a trap or a letdown. That was the case yesterday. About minus 175 again today. Ross Stripling on the mound. He's only been going about 4 innings. Daniel Lynch on the other hand, he's been getting pretty hard lately. Is this one fishy to you? Is this an entertainment? Balls are flying out of this, or maybe not. This is a big ballpark, but over 9.5. Are you entertainment over, or are you seeing something else here? Am I crazy that there's might be something fishy with the Blue Jays here?
Currently, out of nowhere, 31-22. They had a midseason, an early season fade. They're back. Tough couple games. Hats off to you yesterday facing Gosman, and nice rally, and the troops get out early and often. So hats off there. Not a Stripling fan. I have never been a Stripling fan, even with the Dodgers. And obviously, we faded Kansas City yesterday. Only way, if you were in on Toronto today, I think, is a first 5 minus the hook, or even guaranteed 27 outs. Take them on the full game run line. I'm not going to back a Kansas City team. It would be a Toronto first 5 minus the hook or full game run line for me.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, this one's staying out of it for me. I don't like either of these pitchers. I'm not a Daniel Lynch guy. He's another one that's kind of, when I go against him, he's been pretty decent. So I'll keep us out of that one. Seattle and Houston, the next one up. Houston laying a nice hefty price, it looks like. Robbie Ray versus Christian Javier. Javier's been very, very good. I think there's only really one outlier on the season where he's been bad. Aside from that, he's been really good. Not necessarily against what the lineup will be today, but against the Seattle lineup, the active Seattle lineup, they have a combined 4 for 33 lifetime against Javier. So he's been pretty damn dominant against this Mariners lineup. Robbie Ray, not terrible, but not the same success. Jose Altuve might, if I were doing any props, Jose Altuve props might be the guy that I'm looking at. Has some really nice success against Robbie Ray. If you're liking Houston, is first 5 minus a half the play you're going with, or is there something else you like out of this one?
Well, it's fade Robbie Ray, right? And I'm killing myself because his last start was a clunker and we didn't touch him. Yeah. I would be in on. The problem with taking Houston first 5 minus the hook is if you get the good start, bad start. So Ray could maybe give you a good solid 4 or 5 innings. And I don't like to go run lines with home teams because I'm only guaranteed 24 outs.
Right.
And the only way you win in the 9th is a walk-off 2-run, 3-run, or grand slam. I don't have a problem taking the Astros minus the hook first 5. I'll take my shot with the fade Ray thought process. You talked about Altuve, and he's the guy at the top of the order that's usually the engine that keeps these guys going. And every time we got the Astros, this guy's 0 for 3, 0 for 4. And I just want to say this. If I was starting a team, and I know he's not the sexy guy, but Alvarez is just a professional hitter. The guy just hits bombs. They just locked him up for like a 23, 24 per deal. Yep. And everyone's saying, oh, my God, that's so short. Well, he's a DH, and he's a young DH. And I'm going to say a name he reminds me of. David Ortiz. He just reminds me of just a pure professional hitter. And I absolutely love the guy. I think I owe him at least 4 or 5 wins so far for the ECSI family.
Yeah, he's slugging 624 right now. I'm totally with you. I mean, the dude's a monster, 16 home runs. I think Aaron Judge, you would probably argue, is the only American League hitter that's done more damage this year than him, unless I'm blanking on somebody else. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, he's been really good. I mean, Bregman is not really doing much this year either. He's the one that's really, I'm just looking at their lineup right now. He's the one that's been, underperforming the biggest, I would say. But yeah, Alvarez, he torched us last year, the White Sox, at the end of the year. So yeah, I have no interest in seeing that man in October again.
Me either, trust me. I guess that leaves us. We already actually we didn't talk rotation number 953, 954. Definitely an interesting one here. 940 start. The Mets with Carrasco travel to San Diego, and hats off to the Mets. They get kicked in the Jimmy the first two games, and they bounce back and take the next two games. And now they come into San Diego. I think this is Snell's third or fourth start since coming back. A number where San Diego opened up minus 115 is now minus 114. And under over that opened at 7.5 under is now 7 over minus 120 at circa. The rest of the Vegas Strip has left it at 7.5. Honestly, I have not been on the Carrasco train. I think if my memory serves me correct, he's 6-1 on the season. Snell, I hit or miss, I guess is the best way to say it. A Padre team that only has a few guys that are performing offensively. Manny's being Manny. Hosmer's had some good runs here. Any initial thoughts on backing either one of these two?
This one, as you know, this one I'm going to be monitoring throughout the day. As it stands now, the Mets have been getting about 75% plus percent of money and bets. The line hasn't done too much here over the last couple of hours. So, with this one being, 11 or whatever it is, 10 hours away from now, I think I'm going to be monitoring this one. As far as Snell is concerned, this is number 4. He was last time out 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks. So, I mean, he's not really getting hit up too much at all. It's obviously a little bit of control. He's had 2-3 walks per game so far. Carrasco, I haven't been too much on him as well, but I'm just interested in monitoring this one. Snell hasn't gotten a lot of run support when he's started. I think they're 1-3 whenever he does start. Not so much on him, but yeah, this is a weird one. I think one of these guys is probably going to get hit for 4 or 5 runs, and I'm kind of leaning towards it being Carrasco, but I don't know for sure yet. I'm going to stay out of this one until we see some more movement on this one. I think with the money splits coming in.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one for me. Let me see what I see for a series price to see what Vegas is thinking here. All right. They have the Padres minus 115, okay. Mets minus 105. Yeah, I don't think I'll be involved in this one. I think, how when you were a kid and your parents said, don't touch the stove, what'd you do? You always touch the stove. You always touch it. It's hot. It's hot, Riley, and we always have to touch it.
Right.
I'd rather go in and I think dance with the devil here in the next game. We did already talk about it with the Red Sox and the Angels. I think Vegas has given us an overnight clear sign that they're expecting big stuff from Syndergaard. Don't forget, they've lost 11 in a row. And so maybe you get the regression from Walker, maybe some home cooking. I'm not telling you to go full throttle, full game here. I'm telling you, dance with the devil, take some Walker regression. You're going to get the good Syndergaard. You'll know early because he gets 2, 3, 4, 5 runs in the first inning. So you'll know early. So I think I'm going to sneak in with Syndergaard first 5.
Yeah, I think I might be with you. On top of that, I mean, they woke up to some degree. They had 8 hits as a team yesterday. Obviously, we choked at the end, but they're out. The bats woke up to some degree. Before that, they had putting up 2 runs, 0 runs, 1 run, 1 run, and on and on and on before that. So maybe some optimism from their offense at the end, or in the middle of yesterday's game. So I might be with you there. The rest of the board, I'm kind of with you. I'm not in love with anything that we're seeing so far at this point.
Again, we talked, let me see if I can pull it up quickly for everyone here. We talked about the hockey game real quick. And of course, now I can't, there it is. Bear with me, guys. Colorado opened up overnight minus 120. they get pushed to minus 127 in circa. That's the only way that line can move. I guess you're playing the Jedi mind tricks here, meaning does Edmonton save face, say we're going to use this series like Colorado did last year when they were up 2-0 to Vegas. They lose 4 in a row. They had to sleep on that all summer. Edmonton gets a taste of what it's like to be in the finals. It was a great run. Or does the Avs mail it in and say, hey, you know what? Let them get their one game of glory and we'll take care of business back home in game 5. And if I was the Avs, I'd think back to when you thought the same thing against the Blues and you were within 1 minute of going to overtime in game 6 in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think you have to have some sense of urgency because, hockey is the one sport where a team can rattle off 4 in a row a little bit easier than the other sports that we've seen, right? So, I don't know that I'm expecting a 4-game runoff, but yeah, if the Avs don't show up tonight, the Oilers are probably going to be coming out with that urgency. So, I don't know if I'm taking the plus money on the Oilers tonight or not, but it's at least something worth thinking about. Like I said, maybe I'll go to the over 7 for myself.
Yeah, there's a couple spots at Westgate right now, at South Point, at Caesars, at WinBet, at Bet Online, at Heritage, at Consensus. You're going to pay a little tax, okay? But, you can get the over 6.5 now. And the other thing, you know what, guys? I don't do this often, but I'll just throw out a couple props, a couple small action stuff here. Maybe the over 1.5 first period. Maybe Edmonton first period as well. Get in there, help the crowd, takes them on. Hey, guys, we want to thank you for the hell of a season. Let's get a win here. Let's get a win. Let's put a little doubt in their minds and see what happens in game 5.
Yeah, I think that's the key word. Doubt, I think, is the key word because then going back to game 5, and when you get the 2 games, then that's really when anything can absolutely happen, and you already forgotten that you've been down 3-0, and now you've got all the momentum. So this one's bigger than I think people realize. So I'm excited to watch it tonight.
Closing thoughts, my friend.
Just building off of that, we've obviously got, probably 3, 4, 5 more games of the NBA Finals left. We've got the Stanley Cup Finals coming up on top of a handful of conference finals game. And just kind of a PSA, you've seen too many people just because it's the NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup having 5 to 10 plays on a single game just because it's this big event. And, and last night's game, the finals game, not hockey, the basketball game is a good example of why, just in general, you shouldn't have that many plays on a single game. And I do a little entertainment action on some of these games, small, parlay for big bucks, just to have a little fun for some of these games, but I typically only do one play for a single game. But last night's game, Tatum and Steph Curry were really the only ones that were. I think they might have only barely gotten over their point prop, but because it was a 20-point game, you have so many guys that aren't playing, their full minutes, and so they might be on a nice track, and then the Warriors go on that run, and someone like Klay Thompson, actually Klay's a bad example. They kept him in to get him going a little bit, but other guys in that lineup like Wiggins. They didn't play him as many minutes. Jalen Brown, the same story for the Celtics. Anyone other than Tatum on the Celtics is a good example of these guys going out early and the air just being sucked out of these point props for these guys, or rebound props or assist props. So you've really got to be cautious when you're doing those. You can't do too many of these things because it's a quick way to suck your bankroll down for the rest of the series as opposed to being able to play all 6-7 games. So just a little PSA because I saw through the first couple of games of the finals, at least I'm sure the hockey series are going to start picking up like that once we get to the Stanley Cup as well. So just a little PSA: make sure you're keeping yourself light on these big events. Just because it's fun and you want to have some entertainment, still got to be a little responsible with it and plan accordingly for a full. It's a marathon, not a sprint, is what we're talking about here.
Preach it, preach it, preach it. We will send our second basket today on those words. I couldn't have said it any better. The props and their numbers are inflated because everyone takes the over. Go on to Gambling Twitter and watch everyone, whether it's a surgical parlay, whether it's queen of props, king of props. Go on TikTok. Everyone loves an over. No one wants to sit in the game and root for no points.
Right.
And so these numbers are inflated for that reason. And you couldn't have been more spot on. They all cashed the same. We had Dan Alexander on Friday, and we just crushed the first week of the Premier Lacrosse League. And people are like, well, I don't know anything about lacrosse. That's good. The less you know, the better off it is usually, you know, because everyone knows everything about football when you and I both know they know nothing. And our buddy Dave Sharapan says, nobody knows you know what. So with that said, tonight, 6 o'clock-ish, me and Scotty Webb for the closing bell. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. No, let me think. 11 a.m. Eastern, the real Vegas Dave, Mr. Dave Sharapan at Sportsbook Consiga Cash Considerations. He will be on 11 a.m. Eastern time there on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Julian Edlow from DraftKings will be talking Celtics Golden State Game 3. I think he's actually going to be at that game as well. And at 1 o'clock, our trip across the border, as I like to say, our debut of CFL, and we'll be talking pucks, props, and playoffs with the one and only Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk and McGinnis Picks. On Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, the one and only Sean Alvarez will be breaking down the Belmont Stakes, which runs on Saturday, the third leg of the Triple Crown. And on Friday, Mr. Riley and I will be back at 10:30-ish, my time, 9:30 his, for the Bankroll. More guests to come, but we can't thank you enough, guys. To all our loyal listeners that are watching today and every day, without you, there is no ECSI. A shout out to my man, Mr. TJ himself, who just gives a holla. And we're going to have a day today. It's a new week. It's a new start. It's a new beginning. Remember that. If you got crushed last week, you're not going to get it all back today, especially with this short menu. So Riley said it. I'm going to piggyback off it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Check your sneakers. If you got holes, you need new treads, go to Finish Line. Go to your local athletic store. Get a new pair of Nikes, New Balance, or whatever your flavor is. We're going to be here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. We want you here. Okay? So have a day, and we will see you later tonight.